Hey guys, I'm Andrei, a certified translator and a tour guide. Best regards from Minsk, Belarus. This is one of the top unorthodox destinations in 2023, and if you're watching this video, you're probably packing your bags to see this place. Our country is definitely not overcrowded in 2023, and here is the list of the tips, tricks, issues to be aware of for the 2023 season. The Western media make it look like Belarus is shut down. It's illegal to travel here, it's completely impossible to travel here. Obviously, it's very dangerous to travel here, and there's some zombies and everything. Americans get crucified and grilled and then shot, of course, and there's a lot of strange things happening, except there are none. Americans, Canadians, British in my experience are all right getting visa or coming in visa-free, except Americans do not have the visa-free option anymore. Applying for a visa is very straightforward. You just have to post your papers to the nearest embassy, or you can present them in person, or you can, for instance, use the consulate in Vilnius, where you'll walk in, and if you pay a double fee, they will serve you a visa almost the same day. It depends on your negotiation skills. And both visa-free modes are working, so friendly nation, unfriendly nation, sanctions or any other crap, it doesn't really matter. If you want to travel here, getting a visa or coming in visa-free is completely not a problem. I agree, logistics is not very good because there are just several layover points left, including Istanbul, the most popular one, and probably excluding Moscow, because for this you'll have to have a Russian visa. You may not want to take a bus from Warsaw because it's a super long journey, and the bus journey from Vilnius might stretch from the declared 4 hours to 6 or 7, depending on the progress at the border. And the border lately doesn't see much progress. You may have heard of the Russian-Belarusian Visa Act. It doesn't work. To travel to Belarus and to Russia, and in between, you can only fly as a third country national, as a non-Belarusian or non-Russian citizen. Residency here doesn't help. If you have a short-term visa of one of these countries, you can only be in one of these countries. It doesn't really allow you to go to the other one. Again, land border has no classical control, no checkpoints or anything. Belarusians and Russians can go in between, no trouble, but for the foreigners right now, only airports are open as international checkpoints. That's by Russian law, and it's only legal for you to, let's say, fly from Belarus to Russia if you have a Russian visa. No exceptions, no wrinkles, no loopholes, and even if you're visa-free to Russia or to Belarus, you still have to have a visa to visit both countries moving in between. Once you've landed or once you have arrived, you'll want to communicate. The airport has several booths of the telecom operators. I'll put them right here. And in my experience, since I'm an A1 user, I would recommend just the same. Major networks are A1 and MTS. Let's say lately MTS wasn't super welcoming to a guy who got residency, but as tourists you really shouldn't care about this. What you have to know is you can get an unlimited plan by declaring your passport. They'll take your picture at the telecom kiosk, and your unlimited plan will have unlimited data per month, and it can't go negative on the balance. So that's what you need if you're on a short-term stay. If you're on a long-term stay, there'll be an extra lecture on that. You shouldn't bother. So this is something that's very quick, easy, and if you didn't get it at the airport, you can get that SIM card in town. Speaking of public Wi-Fi, which is sometimes declared, it's a pain. Let's say it's a pain, and sometimes when you even discover that network, you still have to get the password by text message, which never comes in my experience. So in a cafe, in a public space, you probably won't be using much of that free Wi-Fi because it really practically doesn't exist. For your convenient navigation, you may use either Google Maps or Yandex Maps. Yandex Maps and Yandex Go we will be referring to further. Yandex is a major Russian corporation equivalent of Google, so to speak. In my experience in delivery, it's a much better thing than Google. The addresses are more detailed. It shows you the building entrance, which may sometimes be complicated. And we'll discuss these things a little bit later. So before you travel, you may want to download these apps and install them and just see how you can use them. They have English versions, so Neither taking a ride with Yandex.Go nor navigating with Yandex Maps makes any challenge. We shouldn't forget the existence of the classical cabs, but they're kind of tricky. Sometimes you can jump into one of those yellow or cab-looking cars and the tariff may be just skyrocketing, and that's by law. So you may get your hotel ride in central Minsk just at the price of an airport ride, and there's not much you can do about this. So make sure you either get the cab from an app or the manager of some house is fetching one for you, and you'll get a ride and experience you will not be regretting. A lot of people are asking about the areas to stay. So geographically we can say that areas between Independence Square, Victory Square, around Hilton, Doubletree are the most central areas, and the rest depends on your purpose of visit in town. Here in Mayak Minska, by the subway, some people find very good rentals, new, nice looking, with this pedestrian street and the library nearby. I'm not sure why they need library nearby, but the view is kind of cool. So one may even stay here, technically on the outskirts of Minsk in eastern Minsk, the district called Vostok, the east. The bookings are a bit hard to find. Booking.com and Airbnb are gone, so other platforms are making good use of their non-existence here. Expedia is still working and hotels.com seem to be operating, and there are some other platforms like Russian engines, but they may not be very friendly to your card. So that's one of the ways to make a booking. The other would be to find a hotel website directly, like Belarus Hotel. My South African guy from Switzerland just lately used that and booked his stay all right. Or you can go and scroll the map and see which apartment companies are there. Most of them use Messenger, some of them speak English, some of them think they speak English, but the deals can be produced all right. Have a backup plan, because sometimes these rental guys are very money conscious, and if somebody is offering them a better deal, they give you a notice like, sorry, we have just had a customer extending. And apartment guys, although they're supposed to be capitalist and adequate, they're sometimes the opposite in my experience. Speaking of apartments and hotels and everything, there's an issue of registration you must be aware of. Registration is technically letting the police know you're here. The migration cops are one of the departments of the police. So what happens when you check at the hotel? They check you in automatically and register you automatically. You have to do nothing. Hotels, farm stays and sanatoriums or spa resorts, they register you automatically. If you're picking an apartment, you have 10 calendar days. Day 1 is the day of your arrival, and day 10 is number 10. As long as you have 10 fingers, it's easy to verify. To register with the local cops, you can do this online. I'll leave the address in the video description. You can do this offline. Offline is a bit cheap, but time consuming. Online is the best way, so double check that your landlord knows how to do this thing. Otherwise, you need some side help, or you need to battle with this online state platform, which was not really made for humans to use it. Now, it's important that once you change address and you go to a different place to stay, you have 3 working days. Now, not calendar days, but working days. Saturday counts as a working day, and Monday is the day when the migration offices are closed. You have to show up at the migration office and process your registration offline, which means manually. You'll have to fill a form, pay 37 ruble fee in 2023, that's 1 base unit, and it will be processed, and a little slip will be dealt to you to be carried in the passport. Every time you change address, you have 3 working days to do that. If you're living on day 10 of your stay and you haven't changed any addresses, you have stayed only in one place, you can leave without registration. Speaking of money, there's a ton of different tips that I would like to mention, but in the first line, your hard currency cash has to be in crisp bills. The bills have to be really ideal without any damages, wrinkles, smudges. The banks will turn them down or charge you 5% commission to accept one of those with a damage of some kind. And if you want to pay at the airport for the consulate fee, that's the same thing applying here. There has to be crisp bills, mint quality bills. Yeah, I realize that some places are very dangerous, but as a local, this is what I have in my pocket. It's $500 plus. That's before I visit my mechanic, of course, and that's some cash. So essentially that's like one average monthly salary in my pocket, and I feel absolutely no trouble walking around with it, and nighttime, daytime, it's just absolutely fine and practical. So guys, carry cash. The visa-free stipulates you have to have 2 base units of worth of money to spend, either in cash or by card, but sometimes cards may not be processed by the sanctioned banks over here. So in 70% Western cards work, but still you may want to carry cash. It doesn't really matter where you are exchanging money here in Belarus. The rate is more or less universal unless it comes to $10,000 plus of an exchange operation, in which case you may be looking for a special exchange rate. In case you're shopping big, in case you're buying a property, apart from the condition of the bills, what you have to keep in mind is that there is no limit of money you can bring into Belarus. You can bring in 90,000, you can bring 9,000, except after 9.9 you have to declare what you have in cash on your person. Not just in one WED, but everywhere on your person. It must be not more than $10,000 total before you declare it. If you have more than that, you have to declare. If you have more than $100,000 with you, you have to declare the source of income, like the contract for the boat you sold, for the apartment you just sold, or whatever money that backs your money origin. Similarly to exchanging money as you go, and you may want to have your cash partially on you and partially in small bills for a practical everyday use, you may want to use Belarusian rubles before you leave the country, because after that the currency is useless. Our currency is unique, you can't get it before the country, except at Vilnius bus station they seem to have exchange point, and at the airport offers it as well, but there's not really much use about it. So before you get here, use your cards or small currency bills. If somebody tells me that local cabman will turn down currency bills, I will laugh. Although, of course, it's illegal to pay in dollars or in euro, you have to pay in rubles, but this is something you may want to keep in mind. There is another curious shortcoming related to using cards and ATMs here. Most of the banks have a 500 ruble limit, I think all of them do, 500 ruble limit for withdrawals, and you can only use 2 banks, I'll put them in the video description, to take money out commission free. Most of other banks use 2.5% commission or higher to get the money out. Also note that some of the ATMs first serve you cash, then beep for 30 seconds for you to remove the card, and if you're too busy seeing how rich you are, your card may be just blocked, and you'll need, let's say, my assistance or somebody speaking Russian to ring the number and see when technical support can recover your card and serve it back to you. If you wish to do some touring, especially in the countryside, I'm happy to offer you my services in guiding and transportation. Everything can be arranged. Mostly I'm into private tours, and since I'm relocating people here, I'm also giving them some tours of the country to feel the destination. And if you feel like seeing another city, seeing real village life, I'll be happy to accommodate you. Just book the experience a couple of weeks in advance, please. A couple of more perhaps nonsense things, but people still ask how good is water in Minsk. There are several districts in Minsk, north and northeast mostly, where tap water is like super good. They have artesian wells. Otherwise, most of the rentals rely on filters, and district to district water can be pretty bad. You can see if the kettle or the sink is badly calcinated when you're checking your rental, and say yes or no on the ground if you are really water conscious. It's not as bad as in some, let's say, southern countries where tap water sip can put you down for a couple of weeks. That's not the case. So if you're in a bad thirst in the morning, if you know what I mean, you can have some tap water and it will not really kill you. There isn't really a law to carry all your ID papers on you all the time, so if you're in a short-term stay, if you're a tourist, just have your passport copy on you. And it's not even legal for the street cops to check your registration unless they really have some ground to suspect that you are screwing it. So that's about it. Otherwise, if you're here on a long-term basis, if you're here looking for residency, get all your respective papers scanned and saved on Google Docs. It's much easier to pull them up when you need to declare them, to have them for some, you know, secretarial paperwork purpose, or just safer when you need to recover them. That's about it. So there is a rule for those who are here on the long term. You get some kind of a document, you make a black and white copy of it. Black and white copy doesn't mean shoot it with your phone, although it's like the most budget option to do it. It's a real copy machine and it's a real copy, so that this copy could be used in some offices as we are struggling around and rushing around to get your residency processed. There is an interesting thing with Mondays here. As we mentioned previously, Monday is a day off for the OGIM, it's Migration Office for short. It's also a day off at the markets. There's only just one main market you'll be caring for, most likely, Komarovsky food market in the city center. And Mondays are off for the museums, although some attractions like the Brest Fortress or Hatyn are open 24/7, so it's not a problem. So keep in mind that Monday is a sort of a red letter day. And a quick line about fines and crimes. There is a dedicated video about this. I'll leave a link down below. The wrongdoings by the foreigners, mostly they're really well-behaving guys, are categorized into alcohol-related, traffic-related and immigration-related. The most frequent thing is outstate registration or outstate visa, which is a bit worse than the registration. So in most cases it's a lot of papers, a lot of signatures. You may want to have a translator or even a capable translator to get your thing processed more smoothly. I'm not a lawyer, but you know, I'm dealing with immigration issues, so I'll be happy to assist you in your matter, but I hope you'll contact me for a tour ahead of the experience and not after the experience to resolve some problem, although that's mostly what I'm doing. Well guys, generally this is it. I hope the video was of some use and will be of some use during your stay here in Belarus. Whether you are into relocation or a short-term tourist visit, I'll be happy to provide you the full range of services I'm officially providing. Links are in the video description. Thank you for supporting the channel. Press a like, leave a comment, some feedback is always appreciated. And I hope to see you in Minsk someday. And there are Sunday expat meetings held in central Minsk. I'll announce the next one down below, and hope to see you in Minsk someday. Cheers!